The year is 2010. An oil spill devastates the Gulf of Mexico. Instagram releases on the App Store. And over on a small TV channel, a movie would debut that would shock the world. It was called Fred the Movie.
Since the rise of YouTube, people have been asking the age-old question: what if we put a YouTuber in a movie? Crazy concept, right? You have your typical cameos like Dan and Phil randomly being in Big Hero 6 in the UK for whatever reason. You have the independent movies that act as love letters to the audience, like the AVGN movie and all of those Channel Awesome movies that are terrible, don't watch them. But then you have the big important YouTuber movies. The Smosh movie, Not Cool, Fred the Movie, Airplane Mode, The Finnening New World Order. Does Late in America count? Remember that movie? You probably don't. However, in the 2020s, the term YouTuber movie has become less stigmatized and more appreciated in the film industry, where more and more YouTubers from different areas are crossing over the line to finally become someone respectable in the eyes of the general audience. Tons and tons of articles talk about how this is a signal change for Hollywood to evolve and change, as 2 of these movies have smashed box office records in this year alone. But I want to look at these movies, these directors and their channels to see if they left their fingerprints on their older content. And also figure out why so many of them decided to make horror movies for some reason. So let's watch, explore, and dive deep into why so many YouTubers make horror movies. When we first start to trace the YouTuber to director pipeline, we will first come across 2 brothers who make crazy skits. RackaRacka. RackaRacka, aka Danny and Michael Filippo, are twins who started their YouTube channel doing what they do best: beating up children. Children being hurt will be a reoccurring thing in their movies, by the way. They got really famous for spectacular and violent skits, such as their Ronald McDonald skits where, Ronald McDonald brutally kills people who don't go to McDonald's, and their gaming-related videos, which involves a lot of backflips, action, stunts, backflips, blood, violence, and of course, backflips. Also, they made the skit where it's actually where that FBI Open Up meme originated from, so thank you, Mr. Racka, very cool. However, if you are horror content brained like myself, you'll also probably know them for being part of the ARG series Ash Vlogs, and also maybe created it. I don't know. I don't think they actually confirmed it anywhere, but it's very implied that they created it as well. So yeah. This is their first foray into horror and the storytelling medium of ARGs, and it worked really well. Until you have to watch one of their videos as part of the ARG and you're blasted by early YouTube vlog editing that plagued the world back in the mid to late 2010s.
Who called you?
I don't know, but how cool is it? We're getting death threats, but it's gonna make for a really good vlog and I'm really excited.
Oh, by the way, do let me know if you want me to cover Ash Vlogs in other ARGs like it at some point in the future. I like Ash Vlogs, it's really cool. Anyway, the video style, the effects, and choreography made people think, damn, maybe they should make an action movie. And they both decided against that, to make a horror movie instead. Through their connections in the movie industry, thanks to them previously working on The Babadook as crew staff, the Filippo brothers teamed up with Causeway Films, and alongside Screen Australia, they made their debut film in 2022.
Talk to me.
Talk to Me is, well, you guessed it, a horror movie about trauma, grief, and struggling to deal with the loss of a family member. Okay, that's a little bit reductive of the movie. I'll explain a little bit further. The movie introduces us to Mia, who has recently lost her mother due to suicide, as she gets swept up in a seance where you hold an embalmed hand and gets greeted by spirits and ghouls. Right off the bat, I have to commend the talent of Mia's actress, Sophie Wilde, who goes all in on this performance. She goes from this believable teenager trying to grip with the reality that she's in to absolutely unhinged with her possession scenes. She does extremely well to convince me with the struggles that she's facing, and also everyone else does a great job too. Shoutouts to the mom who at one point is just going around the house trying to pry information out of her family, and some of the lines are just fucking top notch.
What time's everyone getting here?
Getting here for what?
The party.
Is there a party tonight?
Don't bullshit me.
I'm sorry.
Have you got alcohol in your car?
Oh, no, I don't drink, so...
You're good.
The thing... My cat just fucking dropped something. The stupid bitch. The thing that made me feel really attached to the characters and the crux of the story is, well, the deeper meaning behind it. As I said in the beginning of this section, it's about coping with the loss of a loved one, but the way Mia copes is through the abuse of the hand. She is, well, addicted to it. Seeing spirits that remain with her throughout the movie, pressuring others to take part, including a young teenager to take part despite the disagreements of his sister, and how it affects the relationships of everyone around Mia. There's a lot of great choices to represent this as well, like how Mia's house is cold, filled with greys and blues, while her friend's place is warm and inviting, representing how Mia feels spending time with her friend and being part of her family. It's very easy to grasp that the hand is a metaphor of drug abuse, especially teen drug abuse. Whether it's alcohol, weed, heroin, opioids, Mia is using this as a replacement for the loss of her mother, and it slowly consumes her and the relationships around her. In this state, she is emotional, easily manipulated, and can't stop taking it despite knowing how bad it is for her. A lot of the scenes in the beginning of the movie do show this teen aspect, where it's shot like it's a group of people taking hits from a bong, each coming back for more, even when they had bad experiences with it. Also, I like the shot where one of the hosts is just licking the hand at one point. They didn't need to do that, but fucking go off, I guess. I'm not gonna spoil the rest of the movie for you all, as I feel like it's best to go in without knowing too much about where the story goes. But my god, there is some fantastic practical effects with some of the sequences, including one that just feels like it could have come from a Hellraiser movie. Either way, please check out this movie out when you can. It's great, the acting is fab, there's a lot of funny lines in here too, and there's a ton to unpack as well. As for RackaRacka's next movie, they were originally planned to direct a Street Fighter movie, but they decided to back out and instead directed Bring Her Back, which I have also heard is extremely good. Now, I'm just imagining what they could have done for the Street Fighter movie instead of what we actually got, like, you know, putting the Antichrist in the movie. Maybe they could have put, like, you know, Drive Rush or V-Trigger into the movie, I don't know. Maybe Third Strike parries. Anyways, RackaRacka, if you or your brother see this, can you please tell me if you were the brains behind Ash Vlogs? Please, for the love of God, I am so interested in it. Please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier, and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's.
Do I have to explain who Markiplier is? Alright, fine, I'll explain who the fuck he is then. Markiplier is a Let's Play horror channel that got immensely successful due to his coverage of the FNAF series. If you were a huge YouTube nerd like myself in the mid-2010s, you would usually watch 3 Let's Play YouTubers, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and a secret third one who will not be mentioned. Actually, it was Yummy Mash. Markiplier, however, is known for many other things. He's known as someone who gets mad at climbing games, his Smash or Pass Pokemon video, and his world-famous brother. Don't know him? Look up Markiplier brother on Google. However, since his Let's Plays days, he began to branch into more skit-based comedy, collaborating with a group called Syndigo that later became Super Mega, and also included very silly skits involving his character Wilfred Wolfstash.
People want to know what my favorite game is.
He also made many other short films and short interactive experiences with YouTube originals. These were A Date with Markiplier, A Heist with Markiplier, and In Space with Markiplier. These films that were directed by Markiplier himself were pretty well executed for a YouTube original movie, as it used branching paths via the end screen to dictate the story that you experience. This was a popular trend back in the day, and this interactive video idea will come back up again later. However, in 2023, he would announce that he will be directing his first ever feature-length movie. And it's called Iron Lung is a movie adaptation of the video game of the same name, created by David Szymanski. While I do like the ideas and the horror that Iron Lung presented, it never really grabbed me like it had with several of my friends. Sorry girls, I'm more of a scroll stapler kind of lady. The movie itself was filmed in 2023, but it actually took 3 years for it to properly release. This was partly due to the SAG-AFTRA strikes that happened during the post-production, which he was a member of. But mostly it was due to the negotiations with trying to release the movie into theaters. But after a huge grassroots campaign to get the movie into the theaters, it was finally released in January 2026. And, well, what do I think about Iron Lung? It's fine. Fine. The movie is essentially an expanded version of the original game's story while providing its own tweaks. There's a lot of stuff that makes you go, oh my god, that's from the game, yay! But also expands upon the concept with the main character, his background, and some of the additional stuff, like the camera being in fact a X-ray camera. I like the set design and some of the lighting choices. The part where Markiplier is in complete darkness and has to use the flash of the camera light to make his way through the small crawl space to get where he needs is really nicely done. It was even set up before with him trying to access the Terminal 2 earlier in the movie. I really like some of the practical effects near the end of the movie where the blood is revealed to have mutating properties. But after this is where my issues lie with the movie. For one, Markiplier. I do believe he is a good actor, but I felt like he didn't really do too well to convince me that he was playing a completely different character. There were a lot of times where he would just make quippy one-liners that makes it feel like it could have come straight out of his Let's Plays.
Don't mind me. I'm just trying to go home.
Also, some of the more emotional moments in the movie, it really felt like he was straining his voice to get all of the emotion out, and I'm sorry, it just absolutely took me out of the movie.
I just want to live. Is that so wrong?
Another issue lies with the sound mixing, because in the third act of the movie, the voices really start to blend together and it becomes really hard to decipher what the fuck they're even talking about. Now, I have to specify sound mixing rather than sound design, because the sound design in this is really good. The creaking of the submarine, the blood dripping from the pipes, and the mysterious sounds all add to this horror that I think is 100% kept from the game itself. Add that with the fantastic score from Andrew Hulshult, and you get a great soundscape to complement the movie's horror. But god, the dialogue mixing really just kills the tension, especially when it becomes more plot-heavy too. However, there is a complaint that I've seen from reviewers alike, specifically about how it's boring and nothing like a slow burn, especially with all of the sections where Markiplier is just navigating through the ocean tunnels. And I very much disagree with this, because I think those sections are where the movie is at its best. You have the tension of Mark trying to escape from his predicament, slowly and methodically trying to map out the tunnels with the map he has, the score and the sounds really adding to this tension, all while the oxygen slowly goes down. It honestly feels like I am playing Iron Lung itself, and I think it works extremely well. Maybe I'm just a sicko who loves long tension building shots, like, yeah, I like Skinamarink. Can't you tell? But I do understand why people don't like these sections of the movie if they aren't brought into the world. Is it amateurish? Yeah. Is the cinematography not the best? Yeah. And especially during the last section, Jesus fucking Christ. Is the story kind of eh? Yeah, true. But did I enjoy myself? Fuck yes. Maybe I'm a little biased considering I do like Markiplier and his work, and looking at the behind the scenes that he's shown us, and from what I can find, a lot of effort, time, and passion went into this movie, and even if it's not as great as people wanted it to be, I still massively respect the movie and what Mark tried to do here. So if you want to see a passion project put on the big screen, then go watch Iron Lung. And also go watch Iron Lung if you want to hear Markiplier moan and groan. There's a lot of sketch comedy out there in the world, and honestly it's a good gateway to get into the world of show business. One of my favourite sketch comedy channels is Auntie Donna, who put out some fantastic bangers like the Kiln video, and they even made it to the big screen through their Netflix show that I really loved watching during the pandemic. There was also another comedy sketch channel that's doing numbers as well. That's a Bad Idea. That's a Bad Idea is a YouTube channel made by Curry Parker and Cooper Tomlinson. They made a lot of sketch comedy involving a lot of the Dune-related sketches involving Jake from State Farm. I have no idea who he is, I am very British. Their small-ish series called Roommates, but most interestingly, and the focus for this section, is their horror content. Specifically their Talk to Me parody video.
I don't want to let this guy in.
Come on, man. Let me in there, man.
Dude, you don't want to let this
You're being a
guy
huge bitch right now.
I'm not being a bitch. Look at this fucking guy.
Come on, let that demon in you. Don't play.
See the guy.
Okay, why the hell is King Buck here? Go back to holding comically large props. The thing that got Curry to where he is today is the horror short films. You have the more niche ones like Enigma and Warnings, but it wasn't until The Chair where he started to get his foot on the ground in the horror scene. Now, I won't be talking about these short films that much as these aren't the main focus of the video, but if you do have some time, I highly recommend watching The Chair, as well as Milk and Cereal. God, Milk and Cereal is so fucking good and unsettling. Cooper does a real fucking good job, and so does Curry as well. So just go and watch it. It's peak. However, it wasn't until The Chair that got movie producers interested in Curry's work, and so they pitched to him a chance to adapt The Chair into a full-length movie. However, Curry instead decided to pitch another movie idea he had. Obsession. More like, I'm totally obsessed with this movie. That's fucking terrible. Out of all of the movies that I watched for this video, this was easily the best movie that I watched, simply because of the themes it discusses, the great blend of comedy and horror, and of course, Indy Neverett's performance.
Oh, no, 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 don't do that!
Also, I'll be spoiling the whole movie for this section, so if you want to skip this section, then click on the timestamp here. Okay, now we have time to ourselves. Let's talk about how fucking great this movie is. I think the main reason why so many people are talking about the movie is because of how it flips on its head the simple premise it has. Guy wishes for something, and then scary things happen because of said wish. It's a good old monkey's paw situation, but instead of it being a creepy girl stalking the hero guy, which it does kind of play into, don't get me wrong, it instead focuses more on consent, body autonomy, and male entitlement. Through the first section of the movie, we are to believe that Bear is just a normal guy, a bit pathetic, and maybe a soppy dog at times. But as the movie goes along, he starts to become more insidious, maintaining the false relationship, trying to keep the wish Nikki fulfilled and complacent by any means necessary, and of course, sexually assaulting Nikki after the dinner scene. And if you were dumb or ignored all of the warning signs, the movie just decides to stop and just show you outright that Bear is a piece of fucking shit.
What would be so bad? What's so bad about being with me?
Dude, fuck off. However, a lot of the horror simply lies in Wish Nikki and her creep factor. Most of the horror scenes are of Nikki acting emotionally attached, extremely uncanny, flickering back and forth from being a doting partner for Bear, screaming about the predicament she's in, and also acting like a real creep. Listen, if I was Bear, my wish would have been completely different. I wish Nikki was the best horror dreamer in the fucking world.
We go to. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
So, for this video, I wanted to look at some differing reviews on Obsession to see what's out there, and there was one review that really stood out to me that I just simply had to talk about. And I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of this review. It's been discussed ad nauseum, so many videos have been made about it, and I think it's time to put my hat in the ring. And that's, of course, the Letterboxd review of Obsession done by a niche internet microcelebrity on a dying social media platform called Katie Tight Pussy. What, did you think I was going to talk about someone else? In this negative review of the movie, Katie writes, I found this to be rather nauseating. At its core, this is a film about a woman whose autonomy is all stripped away from her, and she is made a passenger in her own body, forced to bear witness as her body is repeatedly raped, the subject and object of extreme violence, and tormented beyond belief by a man she made the mistake of being friends with. Generously, I think it is possible that this is the film which Curry Barker wanted to write based on the brief moments where the film hints at exploring this. But I do not think that this is the film which was actually made. Fundamentally, I think this film undermines itself for its decision to follow our main protagonist, Baron, not because forcing us to take his perspective is inherently a problem, but because the film utilizes the most rudimentary contemporary horror genre conventions to paint Nikki as worsening Baron's life by being crazy without appreciation for Baron's role. It feels incredibly cruel how Nikki is treated as essentially as a caricature of BPD, and I really detested that. She's so crazy and wacky and zany. Look at her. Fuck off. Honestly, I find it very interesting how both me and Katie can see the same themes of body autonomy and the way Bear tries to get ownership of Nikki's body through the wish, and then come away from the movie with two different feelings and opinions. Mine of appreciation and praise for tackling these ideas, and Katie's opinions of that of disgust and frustration with how the themes are actually implemented. There's also another thing she mentioned that I want to touch on, and that's the caricature of BPD. This is something that's come up time and time again regarding Obsession and the behavior of Wish Nikki. I've seen videos, comments, Reddit threads, and the like of discussing whether Obsession is actually about BPD or simply just using a highly stigmatized version of BPD for its scares. You have a lot of the same symptoms that Wish Nikki has that can be directly compared to BPD, like having unstable relationships with friends, abandonment issues, self-harm, having a favorite person who they become extremely attached to and dependent on, and the most important symptom, walking backwards in a very creepy way. Okay, that's not an actual symptom, but It's in the movie, so I don't know. Looking at these comments, a lot of people with BPD had a real sense of community with how Nikki acted, especially when it comes to her behavior post-Wish. Of course, there are people who felt offended and hurt by the depictions of BPD in the movie, and they are equally valid. But seeing all these people felt seen and heard by the movie is just kind of hard to ignore for me. If you want a deeper look into the movie through this perspective of someone with BPD, then I highly recommend the video by Adri Can't Drive, who does an excellent job with unpacking the movie through this outlook. Circling back to Katie's review, I do agree with her about the exploitation of women's bodies and the violence towards women, especially in the last third of the movie, as I felt like it was too excessive for me personally, and that the character of Sarah was a little undercooked, despite the actress being pretty good at what she's given. Also, I just want to quickly mention that the friend dynamic of this group is just fucked. You have people cheating on each other, crude jokes, sabotaging each other, you know, a very normal friend group. I wish I can discuss more about the movie and its themes, ideas, the characters, writing, and everything else about it, but I'd be at risk at making the video longer than it really needs to be, so I'll be ending this segment here. Overall, I really liked Obsession, and I highly recommend you check it out whenever you can, or giving it another watch if you felt inspired by the new outlook that I have given you. Okay, I'm not going to do any preamble for this section. I'm talking about Kane Pixels and the Backrooms for this section. No mystery about this whatsoever. I have talked at length regarding Kane Pixels and his works outside of the Backrooms, specifically the oldest few, which I've made a whole video talking about it, but here is where I want to point that camera specifically at the Backrooms. It's a fantastic web series that blends animation, found footage, and a great concept through the creepypasta that the series is based on, and fully expands upon it. You learn way more about the Backrooms than before, being taught about Async and their plans, which involves making the Backrooms into a commercial venture. I love capitalism, and slowly but surely, learning what inhabits these winding rooms and halls. I really like Kane's approach to the series and the extra glimpses of the found footage videos that show the outside world is slowly being consumed by the Backrooms themselves. One of the best things about the series is, well, it's basically become the most well-known version of this concept. The other concept is basically a rehashing of the SCP Foundation, but more liminal and way more creatures than I personally like. And sadly no hot furry women, that is just a stolen fursuit image. I would stop here and move on to the main focus, but while I was looking at his older work, like the Attack on Titan videos, I came across his short film, It's Nicer Here. A lot of it is footage he recorded by himself walking around the city, some stock footage mixed in with certain special effects, but honestly, the script and the themes that are being shown in this short film really hit me hard. The isolation, the struggle to be creative, and the existential dread of living forever in a simulation. And then it hit me. Kane Parsons was 15 years old when he made this, showing that he always had the talent and the strengths of a filmmaker at a young age, which many of the commenters at the time agreed with, all wishing him the best, and a hope that one day he'll reach the fames of Hollywood. And then he was 20 years old when he released the Backrooms movie. So I have briefly talked about the Backrooms movie over on my Patreon when I did a postmortem on my analog horror hauntology video. So a lot of what I will say is familiar to those fellow Patreons, but I wanted to expand on some of the topics that I mentioned in that post. Firstly, I want to touch upon the hauntology of the Backrooms, both in concept and in the movie. The Backrooms in the social media age has been connected a lot to liminal spaces and this aching connection with nostalgia that I talked about. There's also these references to this aspect in the movie, with the musical nods of ulterior motives everywhere at the end of time, and Something I completely forgot to mention in my previous video. Boards of fucking Canada. Like, Geo Gaddy is one of my favorite albums of all time. Why the fuck did I not mention it? What is wrong with me? This concept of nostalgia, hauntology, and the backrooms really fit into one another in this movie. Both Clark and Mary are people who look back at their younger selves. Clark with frustration as he wanted to be an architect instead of dressing up as a pirate for a stupid fucking commercial, his failing marriage, and simply wanting to go back to when things were better. And with Mary, who looks back on her childhood with sadness, the struggles of her upbringing with an agoraphobic mother and trying to move on with that, despite being a therapist. She watches as her old home is destroyed as a way of trying to move on, but being unable to do so. Also, I'm not gonna fucking lie, I pogged at seeing the name Reshivan in the background of this shot. I'm no better than people cheering at Captain America holding Thor's hammer. Except I'm excited about a fucking botanist being referenced in a creepypasta movie. As such, both of them find the backrooms. Clark with glee as he finally finds somewhere that he feels like he belongs and can exert the little control he has in this realm. While Mary enters the backroom, she fulfills her dream of getting to roast the shit out of her client, and finally overcomes her struggles of her childhood by beating up an evil version of Clark. Or what we assume to be an evil version of Clark. I don't know. So my main issue with the movie is that the third act is kinda not that great. This is probably where the metaphor of the backrooms that the movie decided to focus on comes into play, and while I do get it, I honestly feel pretty annoyed by it. Clark and Mary's conversation at the table is very well acted though, and Renate does a fantastic job with the script that she's given.
Nothing's ever your fault, is it? You drink too much? Blame your job. You hate your job? Blame the world. You get kicked out of the house? Blame your wife. You attack me and tie me up? Blame your brain. You are your fucking brain, you dipshit!
But then the rest of the movie just becomes a chase scene with the evil Clark and then a lore dump about async at the end of the movie. It's kind of unfortunate considering how great the rest of the movie was, and especially the sequences with Clark walking around the backrooms by himself, and then later the found footage section, which is honestly my favorite part of the whole thing. I understand the reason for the monsters, as it's simply just a reflection of what the backrooms remembers of its inhabitants, and I'm sure these creatures do actually show up in the web series, but I just think how they're introduced in the movie is a bit plain that I'm not a big fan of personally. Also, I miss Bacteria. Please, I need that guy back right fucking now, Kane. Please, please, I beg you. Also, I want to mention the memes. First there was the 20 years old meme, which was very silly and funny, and apparently he wasn't even 20 when he took the fucking photo, but now I have been inundated with so many videos and YouTube poops about Juritel Ejiofor screaming about how he's a fucking architect.
I got home late, I was in the kitchen, and, shit, I broke the furniture!
Honestly, I'm not sure why in particular the internet has been obsessed with these scenes and decided to make them into silly little jokes. Maybe the YouTube poops are actually the backrooms remembering the conversation Clark and Mary had. I don't fucking know.
I'm not your wife!
Stay calm. Stay calm. Stay
Fuck
calm.
you!
Maybe it's because people make these into memes because they love and enjoy the movie so much. Maybe it's because it's out of context. It's very silly to scream, I am a fucking architect at someone. Or maybe, just maybe, they just saw a black man acting really funny with exaggerated expressions and decided to make a meme out of it like all the other times that had happened. Maybe I'm just too woke or something, I don't know. Either way, I do really like the backrooms. When Kane lets loose with the camera and slowly shows off the horror of the backrooms themselves, it is incredible. But God, does the script need a little bit more work? If you want a more deeper look into the backrooms, then I highly recommend Jack Saint's video on the movie, as he goes into way more detail than I could in this video. Check it out. Also, one more thing to note. I'm really glad that Kane is going back to YouTube to work more on the Backrooms web series, and maybe people still live here in the future, since it kinda spits in the face of Hollywood, who probably want Kane to stay here with them and make 10 million sequels or an MCU movie or whatever. There's actually another question that's older than can a YouTuber make a good movie, and that's can a movie critic make a good movie? It's a tale as old as movies themselves. If you can critique the movie, then why not make a movie that's simply better? Of course there's issues with this line of thinking, but it's kind of a funny thought. Imagine Roger Ebert making a movie adaptation of a video game, or Mark Kermode doing a remake of a video nasty. Or Your Movie Sucks making a movie about Mr. Hands. Enter Chris Stuckmann. He's your no-nonsense movie critic that started making movie reviews on YouTube, and grew up watching literally everything. I don't have much to say on the content of his videos, considering, you know, it's just movie reviews. He remains very professional, and I remember watching his content back in the day, alongside I Hate Everything, Ralph the Movie Maker, and the previously mentioned Your Movie Sucks for my taste in movie reviews. Yes, I was one of those people. However, the big question is, can these people actually put the money where their mouth is, and actually make a movie? It was possible that maybe Ralph could do it, considering he did have experience with filmmaking and released a couple of shorts a while back, but in 2021, Chris would emerge as the victor, and announce that he would be directing his first ever movie. And it was called Shelby Oaks. So, Shelby Oaks is considered the black sheep of the recent YouTuber movie wave. Whenever those graphics of Rotten Tomatoes scored and Letterboxd reviews get shown for these YouTuber movies, they usually include Iron Lung, Obsession, Backrooms, and then maybe at a stretch, Bring Her Back, Talk to Me, and Together. But sometimes, they also include Shelby Oaks, and honestly, it just feels like that one meme with the team photo. However, I was really looking forward to it, mainly because of the Paranormal Paranoids marketing campaign that was released around the time of the movie's announcement. I watched a lot of videos about this ARG, or whatever you want to call it, and I absolutely loved it. The acting from Riley is one of the best I've seen from these low-budget unfiction series, and the way it's set up, the realistic character relationships, the camera work, and especially the final video of Riley crying into the camera and having a demon look through the window and it being extremely hard to see is fan-fucking-tastic. I was waiting with bated breath for this movie to come out, and now I have finally watched it, and it's alright, I guess. The best thing about the movie is its first 30 minutes. It presents itself as a mockumentary about the disappearance of Riley, and it uses a lot of the footage from the marketing campaign, which I liked a lot, and had a lot of interesting things in it. The Jess character that ran the channel actually makes an appearance herself, and so do YouTubers like Spooky Astronauts, Rainbot, and Nightmine as well. And then when the movie starts to break, is when the point of view changes from the documentary to Riley's sister, Mia. Through certain events, she manages to find the missing tape, tries her best to locate Riley. There's a lot of good character depth to Mia at first, when she finally has the chance to properly close the chapter on Riley's story, and becomes dead set on finding her, at the cost of her already strained relationship with her husband. The tape that she watches also has a really great found footage visuals that made me love Paranormal Paranoids already, and then when Mia leaves the house and goes to a spooky prison, that's when the movie starts to go downhill. From here it becomes horror cliche after horror cliche after horror cliche that it just didn't really scare me that much and just became extremely predictable. Now, using tropes and cliches for your horror movie can work well if you tell an engaging story or subvert them well enough, but Shelby Oaks just doesn't do that. The character decisions and motivations become extremely muddled and left me a little bit annoyed about the whole thing. But I do see the effort that went into the movie. The cinematography is great, and some visual effects are chilling, but it just wasn't enough to save the movie's pretty underwhelming ending. I do like what Chris tried to do here, and as a debut, it's super great. Like, we're not gonna hit it home one first time, like we're not Ari Aster. I do hope he tries to make another movie in the future, and I wish him all the best luck. However, if you looked at YouTube, a lot of the movie reviews for Shelby Oaks just kind of fucking hated the movie.
Horrible acting, terrible writing, and mediocre direction are the flavors of the day. But hey, at least there's one good scene.
And say that criticism is easier than creation. If that were true, and speaking as a guy who's done both, it isn't, then it wouldn't bode well for Shelby Oaks, because Stuckmann is a terrible critic.
But there is no, and I say this because I've watched his reviews, any personality to this movie. Like 0% personality.
Also didn't help that before and during this whole crisis, Stuckmann outed himself as a pansexual weirdo
that has a laughably bad ending, and the aforementioned belly laugh-inducing acting, and you have yourself a certified stinker.
Not terrible. It's better than Rogue Elements, so fuck it. I'll say that for it.
Okay, I did leave some stuff out regarding Chris Stuckmann, and this is where I'll bring attention to that. People had started to properly criticize Chris as a movie critic when he announced that he will no longer be covering movies he thought were bad. Apparently the reason for this is because he saw the other side of being a director and knew how many points can be failed to make a movie bad outside of the directing, and also he just simply didn't want to burn any bridges in the industry over a bad review. On one side, I can understand why he did this. Constantly focusing on bad movies and doing bad reviews is pretty worn out, and focusing on the good aspects of movie is pretty neat. Like, apparently he did a Madame Web review that was sort of interesting, but a lot of people hated it because he didn't shit on it, so However, it does completely undermine his credibility as a movie critic if he's unwilling to critique the bad things of a movie. There's also promoting gambling ads in his video. There's also some petty reasons that I don't really think that they hold any weight, like his reaction to a jab that Red Letter Media made at him, sorta a cringe script rewrite, and a fucking weird comment about him not seeing racism in a review of Get Out. But I am simply just going to attribute that to him being part of the Jehovah's Witness during that time frame, so I'm personally not gonna hold that against him. Not the gambling ads, though, fuck that. But the way people talk about Shelby Oaks and Chris in their reviews, it feels like Chris fucking killed their dog or whatever. It really does feel like some of these movie reviews have some sort of major dislike for Chris Stuckmann and feel the need to badmouth his alright movie more than it needs to. Actually, I'm gonna tell you something. I actually found a step-by-step guide for making a review of Shelby Oaks that fits in this crowd. Step 1. Talk about the movie in a bland way, mimicking the way Chris reviews his movies. Step 2. Talk about how much you dislike this approach, and say, well, I'm actually gonna be mean to him. Step 3. Include a clip of Chris either shitting on something or, him screaming. Step 4. Rip into the writing and poor character decisions in the movie. Which, it's fair. That's fair. Step 5. Step 6. Rake in all the views and comments. Wow, what a cool original comment. Make sure to post that again 10 million fucking times. Anyway, small rant over. Listen, Shelby Oaks isn't the best thing, but if you liked that Paranormal Paranoids ARG back in the day, then go ahead and watch it. It's kind of B-movie-esque, and I liked it. Okay, there's a lot more YouTuber turned directors that will be too much to cover in one video, so I'm gonna quickly go through them right now, so let's go! So I briefly mentioned Together earlier, but it's directed by Michael Shanks, who did a lot of YouTube videos back in the day involving a series called The Wizard of Oz, that then got a TV show version which looks very interesting. Like I said, people also bring up Together in the YouTube horror movie realm, but I think there's too much to cover here, so it's here in this section. Another big one is David F. Sandberg, who directed the short film Lights Out that was released on YouTube, and then that got turned into a full-length movie. He has since directed the Shazam movies and also the movie adaptation of Until Dawn that was kind of bad. Dylan Clark is actually relatively new since he doesn't have an actual movie out yet, but he directed the short film Portrait of God on YouTube that's getting a full-length movie, and apparently he's attached to the new Blair Witch Project movie that's coming out next year. Dan Trachtenberg made a YouTube channel a long time ago, and it only has one video. That video is Portal No Escape, which is pretty good actually. He later directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, and then later became the person who's carrying the Predator franchise on his back at this point. Yeah, so I like Skinamarink, but did you know the director Kyle Edward Ball started off on YouTube doing experimental videos on a channel called Bite-Sized Nightmares? It's basically him recording what other people's nightmares were, and it's essentially a smaller scale version of Skinamarink, so if you need more of that, then go ahead and check it out. Yeah, Bo Burnham started off on YouTube as well, but honestly I don't really think of him as a YouTuber turned celebrity, similar to how I don't really view Justin Bieber as one either, but I'm still gonna include him here since he directed that 8th grade movie a while back. And also Inside, if you count that as a movie. Did you know that Mystery Guitar Man is now a filmmaker, and that his first movie had fucking Mads Mikkelsen in it, and premiered at Cannes? No? I didn't either. But now I know, and you know too. You think this would be it, since I covered all the big horror movies made by YouTubers, but, well, you'd be wrong. I wanted to look back to find another early example of a horror movie directed by a YouTuber, and I really struggled to find one that wasn't just the ones I mentioned previously, until I found one big example that I cannot believe I overlooked and missed. Unfortunately, that movie was Smiley. Smiley is a slasher movie starring Shane Dawson and Tobuscus, two very normal YouTubers, and is, well, a very bad movie. I originally thought Smiley was just another movie starring YouTubers with random guest stars, such as Keith David for some fucking reason.
Welcome to hell!
And I wouldn't really include it here until I found out who directed it. Michael J. Gallagher. He's also a fucking YouTuber. He previously ran the channel Totally Sketch, and you can really tell it was an early YouTube channel because you have tons of boobs in the thumbnail and also, very normal videos. Anyway, he directed this pile of fucking shit. Smiley is essentially a badly done serial killer that acts as a Bloody Mary game, but instead it's done on Omegle. There's so much bad stuff in here that I do not have the time to cover it in my usual style, so, instead, I got my good friend Riley Anoski to watch this movie with me that I paid real money for, so here's a montage of that viewing experience, so enjoy.
Wanna check the okay?
Why is he lit like that? Why is he lit like that? It looks like a fucking kill.
No! What do you mean? Why is he in this movie?
Oh no. Oh no!
Dude,
No.
are you kidding?
No.
No. You are not going to a 4chan party.
Jump scare.
I just remembered the party's saying new. Yeah, he just called me. There's another one.
You just fucking called it. Why is he talking like the fucking Joker from
Yeah, so that's so up close. They're so up close. I can see their skin pores.
Why is he like slightly off frame too? Why is it the like?
Wow, each node.
Like, can you not move the camera a bit to the left, man? There you go. You go. No, don't move it back. No.
Wait, it says white.jpg at the top.
Wait, really?
Like,
White.jpg. Yeah, I see it. Oh my.
How many people has Smiley killed in the corner? So, I made too much clips for this montage, so The full video is now a Patreon exclusive, so you can go over there and watch that. It's only $5 a month and you get access to all other stuff too. This is a threat though, so sign up now. Do it or die. I don't have much else to say about Smiley that hasn't been said already in other YouTube videos. It's terrible, the ending sucks, Shane Dawson is in the movie, and I'm glad that Michael J. Gallagher never made another movie ever again. Except I lied, he directed the fucking Thinning movies. Jesus Christ, it keeps getting worse and worse. Okay, while I was editing this video, I realized something that I haven't mentioned at all. Michael Gallagher has a new movie out this year. It's called The Leader, and apparently I've heard it's getting some good reviews, but on YouTube, there's a video out that says it's really fucking bad, so honestly, I don't know, so yeah. During the release of the Backrooms and Obsession, many articles from outlets such as Guardian, Variety, and GQ started to ponder the question of why these movies have attracted such a huge box office and cultural moment in the mainstream. They argued that there was a shift where YouTube creators are finally starting to cross over to make great movies with little to no budget. Variety compares this to how James Wan hopped onto the movie scene with his movie Saw, and they even interviewed James Wan on the topic too. Every generation, we see young people shoot and experiment with short films, but the big advantage today's generation has is technology right at their fingertips with platforms like YouTube where they can upload their work and get instant feedback from viewers. This allows them to react instantly to what works and what doesn't work, and therefore hone their skills. And platforms like YouTube are almost like a film festival for people to get their short/content seen instantaneously by everyone around the world. Some people even posit that the reason why these indie horror movies have become so big while other movies like Talk to Me, Lights Out, and Shelby Oaks didn't get the spotlight is because of the decreasing interest in blockbuster movies. A lot of the box office noise around the Backrooms was because it was beating The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is pretty big, but this isn't unique for this time frame. Movies like The Blair Witch Project and the aforementioned Saw had huge box office numbers and beat a lot of its competitors at the time of its release. However, people have started to pick up on the fact that YouTube creators are just as talented at managing from a smaller budget. These YouTubers have to write their own scripts, edit their own videos, be the person behind the camera, be its main actor, and distribute their videos to a wider audience. Markiplier points this out in an interview he did as well.
Wore all those hats, but then again, it's the same hats you would wear as a YouTuber anyway, because all YouTubers, when they're first starting out, unless they've been set up in some way or they have like resources from the get-go. But if that doesn't happen, then as a YouTuber, you got to make your own videos, you got to write your own stuff, you got to come up with your own concepts, you got to edit your own video, you got to be the director, the actor, you're on camera, you know, you got to be all the roles. So going into it, it's like, it's the same hats I'm used to wearing for all the other things. It's not all the hats I want to wear all the time, because let me tell you, it's very difficult to wear all those hats, especially as things get more complex. But yeah, no, I'm used to that.
Also, the notion of creatives being born from smaller budgets is not a new phenomenon at all. Take, for example, the brilliant directors that came out of the woodworks via directing music videos or directing adverts. These included award-winning and critically acclaimed directors like David Fincher, Jonathan Glazer, Michael Gondry, Spike Jonze, and many more. I think a lot of the media attention on these movies is Hollywood noticing the trends of Gen Z. Since the rise of TikTok and short-form media, people's interests have shifted dramatically, and where they find content and media they enjoy has changed as well. They are surprised that an independent film went from viewing at 3 to 4 theaters to a worldwide phenomenon. They are surprised that a comedy skits YouTube channel could craft a fantastic horror movie with brilliant actors, and they are surprised that a 20-year-old directed a movie. This is the last time I'm making this joke. I think there's also a negative outlook on YouTube as a platform for filmmaking from Hollywood, and more specifically from the mainstream media. Constant TV interviews about YouTube creators always had this aura of novelty to it, treating these people as a lesser evolution of content to be consumed. What's that? You make YouTube videos? What, like Charlie Bit My Finger? Like 100 boys versus 100 girls for $500,000? Like Nugget and a Biscuit? It's this idea of superiority where there's Hollywood over there, where the big boys are, and then there's YouTube, where poor, low-quality videos go away to what array. Ignoring that so many up-and-coming filmmakers are starting to get their foot in the door through YouTube and other social media sites. Maybe that's something that us other channels need to do. Push ourselves and showcase the ideas that we all have, and maybe one day we can make it over to Hollywood. As long as you're a white guy. While I was researching this video, I came across an article on /film written by BJ Colangelo titled "The Future of Horror Filmmaking is YouTube if You're a Dude." In this article, she discusses the barriers women have when trying to make YouTube content compared to the men in the same shoes. She talks about how the algorithms on YouTube and other search engines reinforce racism, how marginalized people are harassed at significantly higher levels, and how in the current climate where negativity and rage-baiting benefits people to be as vile as possible towards these marginalized groups. This is the same thing for Hollywood in general. Women directors are vastly underrepresented in wider film industry, and there's a lot of underlying misogyny in how these directors are treated by the media and award shows. As Scarlett Colquitt puts it, female directors are viewed as women first and foremost, and then directors. Maybe Hollywood has seen an interest in YouTube not because of box office numbers, Gen Z trends, or anything else. Perhaps YouTube is another reflection of Hollywood. The same barriers towards people of color, women, and LGBT people that were placed in Hollywood are still being used on YouTube, but in very different ways. As BJ Colangelo states, how can creative women gain a following or fandom on a platform like YouTube when they are up against all of these systemic hurdles before they ever even hit upload? Now, you may be asking, what about Markiplier? Isn't he like Asian, and he's also included in this rise of YouTuber movies? And while yes, that is true, but he's also the one who had to do a grassroots distribution scheme to get his movie out. He also didn't have Focus Features, Neon, A24, or any of the other studios behind him either. Look, I'm simply not here to rain on people's parades or spoil the fun for everyone. I like all of these movies that I've mentioned, and I'm very glad for its success. But I also can't help but feel that it feels incomplete without everyone on the table. And well, I actually found a movie that could help make that table better than before. Divine Hammer is a mumblecore horror movie directed by the M sisters. If you don't know who they are, then you might know one of the sisters, Hazel. She's an excellent video essayist who's made great videos on Elfen Lied, creepypastas, anime, and evil PlayStation games. Both Hazel and May have made great videos, and to see all of their efforts come together to make Divine Hammer is so cool and interesting. As of now, this film is currently going through a similar grassroots distribution cycle that Iron Lung did, and I would like everyone to request this movie to be shown at your local independent theatre. I have requested this at my local theatre, and you can follow the steps needed to do so through the link in the description. I went to see this movie because it's great to see other creators like myself finally get the chance to have their movie shown to a wider audience. Maybe it's the best thing, maybe it sucks, but the chance should still be given because we all need that chance. So that's my call to action for this video. Support the M Sisters, support independent films and other marginalized content creators, and then maybe one day we'll be at the table.